futuristico. Rap futuristico.
Well, everybody, I'm delighted to welcome Susy Campanale of Football Italia fame to this little mini podcast. Susy, how are you doing?
I'm fine, thanks. Hello to everyone.
It's good to have you back. It's been far too long.
I know, terrible.
Well, we're just going to have a little chat about the Azzurri and get your thoughts on everything that's been happening and what you think is going to happen in the future. So first of all, I just want to get your thoughts on the team in general. What do you think of the squad and how good is it?
Not great. It could have been better. They have been hit by a multitude of problems, which started off, of course, with Giuseppe Rossi smashing his knee twice in the space of 6 months. I'm still not sure how that happened. And, of course, Antonio Cassano's various health problems, and then all of the other strikers have gone off form horribly. So he's really had rather limited choices, Cesare Prandelli. And then, of course, just for the coup de grace, we've got the police doing a dawn raid on the training ground to arrest, well, not arrest, but to give a notice of investigation to Criscito. It would be much needed, especially if Barzagli really does have to leave. That's just brilliant, isn't it? Who does a dawn raid by police the day before a match? Could they not have done it some other time?
This is Italy, Susie. This is what happens.
I know. Just like the thing with Antonio Conte, for the same day they did the dawn raid there. He'd been saying for weeks he wanted to be interrogated. Nobody did that. No, dawn raid. Much easier than just asking him questions. We've got Balotelli there. Hopefully he'll actually do something. Something good, that is. He always does something. It's just not necessarily something good. That's the problem. But if he does something good, and hopefully Cassano will be there to guide him through it, because if anyone knows what it's like to go off the rails, it's him, then hopefully he will actually have a strong effect. But it's not looking great, the fact that they've only actually played together for 100 minutes or so, 120 minutes or so, in their entire careers. Because the first time they played together as a pair was in Prandelli's first match in August 2010, and that was for about an hour. And then they played again together against Russia, and neither of those went well, so we'll see.
So do you think that's maybe something that Prandelli should look at, and maybe it's because he did say that he wanted to kind of build the team with these two as the kind of fulcrum in it. Do you think that's something he should maybe reconsider?
In theory, it's a good plan. The problem is they haven't been able to play together at all for various reasons. Partly because Balotelli went off the rails, then because Cassano is having notorious heart problems. But the other options, there aren't really that many, are there? I mean, Di Natale has never really delivered on the international stage, not to mention the fact that he was considering retirement this summer, he said, because he was so exhausted from just playing a regular season with what he did. That's not a good sign when you've got a tournament like this, which is so compressed. But at least there was one positive thing from the awful 3-0 friendly defeat to Russia, which is that the system that Prandelli had used all the way through qualifying just doesn't apply anymore. The players have changed, the form has changed, and more importantly, he has learned from what has happened in Serie A during the last 8 months, which is the 3-5-2 has come back in. Napoli play with it well, although they have a great strike force and a terrible defensive record. Juventus used it with a great defensive record and not a very good scoring one, and Udinese was somewhere in between. So hopefully he can put together the best of both sides, rather than the worst of all sides.
How far do you think they'll actually progress in the tournament? Because I'm not entirely confident that they'll get out of the groups.
I think if they get out the group, it will be a good thing, and we should be happy with that. Because if we expect too much more, it will be tough. Because the problem is that I see is Ireland. I think Ireland can cause a real upset here. Because Spain, well, Italy, if they're extremely lucky and committed, they might be able to scrape a draw with Spain, I think. Because the problem with Spain, and which has become apparent even in the Champions League, is that they have a plan A and that's it. They have one way of playing and they are actually quite predictable when you get down to it. So if we could stop them playing, that would do it. Ireland, however, I think could really cause some problems. Croatia, they would have done, but having lost Olic, their strike force has been damaged somewhat. I thought that Croatia would come into the tournament a bit better, a bit stronger, but they don't seem to be really gelling. I think Ireland can cause an upset here.
And it would be obviously quite bittersweet with Giovanni Trapattoni being the manager as well.
Yeah, well, the man knows how to defend, that's for sure.
Exactly.
It ain't pretty, but it works.
So, Susie, who do you think will be the kind of key man for like Cesare Prandelli's Italy side?
I am concerned that Thiago Motta is going to play in the opening match. I'm not that fond of him. I think he's somewhat overrated, and I don't think he brings a great deal to the team. Obviously, Andrea Pirlo. Obviously, that just goes without saying. He is the man who creates, he pulls the strings, he spreads the play, and in the 3-5-2, he's actually more protected than he otherwise would be. He's got his bodyguards, his burly bodyguards like Marchisio and Nocerino or Thiago Motta or someone else, you know. I was going to say Gattuso. Oh, those were the days. you need someone like Gattuso, you know? He didn't do much, but all you felt his presence. And we need someone with that kind of rugged presence in midfield so that Pirlo can just get on with his thing and not be too disturbed. So obviously Pirlo is the touch of quality in that team. Hopefully Balotelli could be the man to break out and finally do something, because when he really can, but that is of course the most infuriating thing about him. But he can, but often doesn't, which is why you just get annoyed at him for so often. But if he does, it'll be amazing.
Exactly. And just finally, Susie, who is your tip to win the tournament?
I think, personally, it'll be either Germany or Holland. Because Germany are really developing, they're putting in use, they've got the usual strength, but they've also taken on different strengths from what they used to have. They're developing into a modern team, and they've got some wonderful players. My one concern might be that they waste a lot of chances in attack, which they can't really afford to do in these competitions. Holland, of course, have immense talent. They were World Cup finalists. A lot depends on the form of their individuals and in avoiding a penalty shootout, because we all know how those end. I don't think Spain will do it again for the previous reason, which is they're getting a bit predictable. People are starting to figure them out. Plus, of course, they lost Puyol and David Villa, so it's all a bit... They're not as strong as they were, Spain, personally, I think.